Canada's Justin Trudeau nightmare continues. In case you think Joe Biden is bad, spare a thought for our cousins to the north. Last week, Statistics Canada announced that Canada's per capita GDP has shrunk for the sixth consecutive quarter, despite jumps in government spending that continue the Sovietization of the Canadian economy, courtesy of Canada's most famous cosplayer, Justin Trudeau. Just last month, the Bank of Canada, their Federal Reserve, was predicting 1.5% growth. The number came in at 1%, and thanks to the flood of migrants pouring into Canada, it dropped to minus 0.4% per person. This is a problem because Statistics Canada also announced that inflation is jumping again, up an annualized 4.8% last month. So that means they can't cut rates to boost the economy since inflation will go up. They are painted in a corner. Now, it's hard to overstate just how bad the past decade under Trudeau has been for Canada. In previous videos, I mentioned how Canada now has West Virginia salaries and San Francisco house prices. To buy a house right now, the average Canadian mortgage would cost 48% of family income. In Vancouver or Toronto, it's closer to 70%. A recent Ipsos poll found 7 in 10 Canadians agree that, quote, Canada is broken. An Angus poll found 42% of Canadians are considering moving to another country. In fact, Canada's had the worst growth out of 50 developed economies since 2019, with wages flat since 2016, so that's 8 lost years. Business investment tanked from 79 cents per dollar of salary to just 55, as 285 billion of investment capital fled. That's about $3 trillion in U.S. terms. Thing is, this all happened very fast. So as recently as 2011, Canada's GDP per capita was higher than the U.S., 52,000 versus 50. 13 years later, Canadians are 1/3 poorer than Americans. Now, part of it was we only had 4 years of Joe Biden, but they had 9 of Justin Trudeau. But Justin's lurch to government dominance has been much bigger than the U.S. So I mentioned in a recent video how 4 million Canadians work for government. That's about 35 million in U.S. terms. Throw in Canadians who live on welfare, and you've got nearly 40% of the population drawing their paycheck from big government, which makes it hard to win an election. Under Trudeau, government grew 4 times faster than the private sector, government debt jumped by 50% in 4 years, and household debt in Canada is now the highest in the G7, so that's over 100% of income, which is 30 points higher than the U.S. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. The long nightmare could soon be over, with a general election scheduled for probably October of next year in Canada. Conservative Pierre Poilievre, famous for wrecking a regime journalist while eating an apple, is currently running 90% in betting markets. Poilievre has been called Canada's Trump, and he's running on cutting government spending, ending Canada's migrant invasion, protecting free speech, promoting housing construction and energy production, and actually jailing criminals, along with auditing Canada's central bank, which would make Ron Paul proud. Now, Canada, along with Europe, will be a test whether the populist surge is a worldwide affair. I suspect it is, for the simple reason that our current socialist elites are as incompetent as they are corrupt pretty much everywhere. But like the U.S., the question is how much damage has already been done, how long will it take to fix, and how hard will the entrenched government elite fight back? Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.